Hello everyone, it's Bjorn Strong in the Arm here, and I am standing in front of a glass elevator. And this, I should say, is a tutorial that I am redoing because I did it a few months ago and somehow the file has become corrupt and I can't upload the original. I don't have it anymore, so we'll do it all over again just so you can see how to make this thing. But it's a glass elevator that I designed for use in Minecraft 1.9 and it also works in Minecraft 1.10. As you may well know, the kind of standard glass elevator designs that were used before then were broken with the release of Minecraft 1.9. Now, there have been a handful of other designs that have been created since then. There's been one by Ilmango that a lot of people have used. It's very, very effective. Also one by Snow Crash. I'll put the links to both of those in the description. And those do have some advantages over this one. They can handle a much larger stream of items. This one, as we will see, runs off a dropper that spits things into the elevator, so it will be only as fast as the clock that runs the dropper. But the advantage this one has that those ones lack is that this one does not require any water streams at all. So you could put this in the Nether. It's also relatively compact, as you can see. The footprint is not very large. And so you can also put it in a relatively tight space where you might not be able to have the room to get the water streams running the way you want to line items up. So if you need a glass elevator that has some of those features, then this one is one I recommend. If you need instead one that can move an awful lot of items pretty quickly, then you might want to use one of those other designs. Now let me explain the concept behind it really quick. It's very simple. So one idea you might have is to go ahead and have an elevator with kind of a hole right there at the bottom and find a way to get some items into that hole and then just push a block with a piston and let them go up. Now let me show you what happens if you do that. As you can see, those items got shot way up high into the air, which you don't want. I mean, you might have, say, a hopper here is supposed to pick them up, and you might have other buildings up here, other stuff you've built above the elevator. It's going to just shoot right past that hopper into the air and land where you don't want it. But it turns out that if instead of pushing the block up from the bottom, you push it down from the top, and you time it right. So when you first push it down from the top, the items start to slowly go up instead of getting launched. And if the block then pulls back right as the items are about here, they'll continue into that block and continue to kind of float on up gently. And I've got the timings worked out here so that will work and you can see it happen. And they just go gently on up. So that is how this works. That's the basic idea behind it. I'll come look at it a little more closely. We have this piston going down. We have a chest over here. Lets you put items in. We have this clock that drives this dropper that gets them in there. And we have this device, this timer, that pushes the block down when it needs to go down. And we have this little thing that locks the clock so that the dropper is not spitting items into that block while it's extended. And that's how it works. Now that we've seen it in action, let's go ahead and make it. You won't need too many resources in order to make it. You will need a bunch of materials for the elevator shaft. I'm going to use glass. However much you need will depend, of course, on how tall you want your elevator to go. So there's no way of telling in advance for me how much that's going to be. You're also going to need about 34 solid blocks. You'll need a dropper, a single redstone torch, 6 comparators, 5 repeaters, 12 pieces of redstone dust, and 1 sticky piston. You'll also need some chests and some hoppers to get things into and out of the elevator. So let's go ahead and grab our resources and start building. Let's start with the elevator shaft itself. So come and put a 3x3 platform for the bottom of the shaft. I will put something right there just to mark out the center. And then you'll want to put a dropper that faces into that center right there. And you'll want to put a iron block, or a solid block, I should say, right next to that dropper. Now let's go ahead and come up 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. I put a piece of glass at that 4th up. Put a sticky piston coming I got to get onto it, coming down out of that piece of glass and put some more glass on the end of that sticky piston. I've used some colored glass just so that when it goes down and comes back up, you can see what's going on. Now we're also going to come over here to the side and put a dropper or a hopper into this dropper here, and we'll put another hopper into it, and we'll fall down, and then we'll put a couple of chests on there to load it up. We'll come around like this, and we'll make a ring, and make sure when we do this that we do not fill in this space here. That needs to be filled with glass. At the next level, we'll come across and put glass all around. And at the third level, we'll come across and put glass around like this. But we want to make sure that this block right here is a solid block. After that, we just fill in the glass as high as we want until we get to the top of our elevator shaft. Now, when you have your elevator as high as you want it, let's come ahead and put a chest out like this and put 2 hoppers heading into that chest, with one of the hoppers being right here in the middle, and fill around those hoppers then with, glass. There we go. And now, once you get to here, go ahead and put another ring around this top layer above the hoppers, leaving this bit right here empty. And the reason for that is that the items in this elevator aren't aligned, so they might come up, for instance, kind of right on the border here between the center and a side. And if you don't have those bits in and something comes up right here, it might end up landing, coming to the very top and being a little bit more on this side than that side and not going into the hopper there. If you have this ring of glass all the way around, then whenever it pops up here, when it gets to this layer, it'll get pushed over into that air hole, and then it'll get sucked up by the hopper. Our next job is to wire up all the redstone. So let's come around to the back. We'll start by wiring up the timer that will drive this dropper right here. So make a little platform of 2 by 4 coming out of the dropper and next to this solid block we put in. Put a redstone comparator coming directly out of the dropper, a repeater set on 1 tick to there, another comparator coming out of that on subtract mode, and then come around just like that with 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of redstone dust, and finally put a repeater into that block right there. Now, we also want it so that we'll have a timer up here, but we also want to be locking this when it goes off. So to do that, we come down and make an L shape right here next to and below this solid block we left in right there. And we want another one coming down here, so we have this kind of Y shape like that. And then 2 more blocks coming in there, going into that repeater right there. Once we have that, we want to put a repeater right there on 2 ticks. We want to put redstone dust on those 3 blocks there and down into there as well. And finally, we want to put a repeater going into that repeater so that when this dust lights up, that will power this repeater here and lock it so that nothing will get spat out. Our last job is to put in the clock that is going to run all this. So come up to this block right here. So we have a solid block and we have this glass block here. Put another solid block right next to there and put a torch just like that. Now take your solid blocks and come to 1, 2, 3 out like that, and 1, 2, 3 back, and 4 and 5. Now we want to put 2 comparators this way running into the block with the torch, 2 comparators coming the other way right next to them, and redstone dust on the remaining. And that will start the clock, and now as we watch, it's a fade out clock. Eventually this will fade and that will fire again, and things will go like that. So now let's just test it and make sure that it works right. There they go, on up, and up into the top. 5, 6, 7, 8, there they are. So there you have it. It is a Nether-Ready item elevator for Minecraft 1.9 and 1.10. Now before I go, one final thing I want to mention is that you can, if you like, try to increase the output, the throughput of this elevator by, as I've done here, to try to double up the number of droppers that are firing into that hole below. And this will work just fine. A couple of things to watch out for if you do try something like this. One is just that every once in a while, as you watch it, the more you have in there, you will see, as you watch it, an item kind of fly off to the side. Now that's just a graphical glitch. In testing, I've never actually lost an item. I've always ended up with the same number at the top that I started with below, but I will see some kind of tossing one way or the other to the side. The other thing to be aware of is that, while it seems as though with two of these droppers, a single hopper can keep up, if you try to get 3 or 4 into there, you can get enough coming up the elevator that will overload this hopper. Items will pop up here, and if it keeps going long enough, we'll even get some to maybe despawn. So you want to watch out for that. If you are not working in the Nether and you have maybe a water stream coming out, it's not going to be an issue, but just be aware of that as well. But let's just check. There they are, 57, 58, 59. There's our 2 stacks. Everything came through just fine. So there it is. I hope this elevator is useful to you. I hope that you can find a place to put this in your Minecraft builds. I appreciate you watching. If you found this useful, please do leave a like. If you want to see more of what I will do in Minecraft, go right ahead and subscribe. With that, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.